Something invisible has been influencing your life, and you don't even know it. Have you ever felt an unexplained presence near you, as if you weren't alone but saw no one when you turned around? Or perhaps you've felt a sudden chill at a familiar place, sensing you've just brushed against something unknown. What if these sensations aren't mere coincidences, but evidence of something powerful, something deliberately hidden from us? For thousands of years, mystics and spiritual masters have known about a force just beyond our sight, influencing our thoughts, emotions, and the course of our lives without us ever noticing. They called this hidden boundary the veil, a thin curtain between our world and a realm filled with raw energy, lost wisdom, and entities that defy everything we understand. This isn't another conspiracy theory. It's your invitation to finally wake up, to pierce through the illusions designed to keep you distracted, powerless, and asleep. The truth is, the world we see with our eyes is only a fragment of a much larger, hidden architecture. The veil is not just metaphorical, it is energetic, psychological, even quantum. And every once in a while, it thins. You might notice it in the flicker of a shadow in your peripheral vision, a voice in a dream that speaks too clearly, a sign, a symbol, a sudden intuitive knowing that strikes you with eerie accuracy. If lately you've felt a shift deep within you, had vivid dreams, or experienced coincidences impossible to ignore, it's no accident you're here now. You're ready not just to watch, but to remember. Because once you cross beyond the veil, your life will never be the same. What if the signs of a spiritual awakening weren't in your thoughts, but in your spine, your skin, your heartbeat? What if the real evidence of transformation was happening in the one place you never expected, your physical body? For years, you've been taught to separate the spiritual from the biological, that the body is just a vessel, a passive shell waiting to be transcended. But what if that idea is completely wrong? What if your body is not resisting your awakening but initiating it? You see, when consciousness begins to expand, it sends signals in all directions, not just through dreams or emotions, but through your nervous system. Your cells feel it, your bones feel it. And slowly, without warning, your body begins to prepare for something higher. You may have already noticed the changes, but didn't recognize them for what they were. A sudden tightness in your chest, even when you're calm, waves of heat in your back or spine, insomnia for no clear reason, your digestion acting strange, or an unexplained heaviness that comes and goes like invisible weather. These are not random. These are the physical signatures of energetic release. As dense emotional patterns begin to rise to the surface, the body, your oldest ally, responds. It trembles, it purges, it stretches. But here's the part that no one tells you: these symptoms aren't signs that something is wrong. They're signs that something is leaving. Your body is not breaking down. It's breaking open. From the outside, it may look like fatigue, illness, or stress. And yes, awakening can mirror all of these. That's part of the illusion. Because the deeper truth is that your body is recalibrating. It's letting go of years, sometimes lifetimes of suppressed energy, trauma, and belief systems locked into your posture, your breath, your hormonal rhythms. Western medicine often doesn't have language for this, but ancient healing systems did. In Ayurveda, sudden shifts in digestion or temperature were seen as signs of energetic rebalancing. In Chinese medicine, heat in the spine was interpreted as qi movement, the body's life force adjusting itself. The process is intense, yes, but it is not chaos, it is reconstruction. Here's where it becomes even more fascinating. These shifts often begin subtly, but then accelerate. One day you feel a strange tingling in your hands. The next, you realize you can feel the mood of a room before anyone speaks. Your posture changes without effort. You crave different foods. Your skin may even begin to glow differently. The body, no longer numb, becomes intelligent, alive, a mirror of the soul's transformation. You are not getting sick, you are becoming more sensitive, more tuned in, and the discomfort. It's the friction of frequency, your old identity being dissolved by a higher vibration moving through every system in your body. But this is just the beginning, because while the whole body undergoes change, there is one part that reflects this inner shift more clearly than any other. A part that communicates without words, a part that reveals when the soul is stirring from its slumber. You've seen it before, you've felt it in others, but you may not have realized what it truly meant, so pay close attention. Because the next sign of your awakening doesn't come from a thought or a feeling, but from the one place where truth can't hide, your eyes. There's a moment during a spiritual awakening that catches even the most skeptical off guard. A moment when you look into the mirror, and something in your own eyes feels different, clearer, brighter, deeper. It's hard to explain, but impossible to ignore. And if you've seen it in others, those rare people who seem to carry an ancient stillness, a presence, you've likely felt the same thing, that their eyes are saying something their words can't. This isn't poetic metaphor, it's energetic reality. When the inner self begins to rise through layers of illusion, the eyes are the first place it shows. Because unlike your voice, your posture, or even your beliefs, the eyes cannot lie. They are the only part of you that remain unmasked, even when the soul is still waking up. So what exactly is happening? It begins with subtle shifts, less tension in the face, softer blinking, more sustained eye contact. But the deeper change is vibrational. As you release dense emotional energy, especially grief and fear, something clears within. This clearing is not just emotional, it's energetic. Light begins to pass more freely through your system, and it reaches the eyes like sunlight through a clean window. Some people notice their eyes looking wider or more awake. Others say the color seems more intense, almost like it's glowing. But what's really happening is that the eyes are reflecting a deeper frequency, one that comes from alignment with the authentic self. The ego hides in words. The soul speaks through the gaze. If you've ever had someone tell you there's something different about you, but they couldn't name it, this is often what they're sensing. Your eyes begin to carry a field of awareness. You're no longer just looking, you're seeing, not just the world outside, but the subtleties underneath people's pain, unspoken intentions, beauty hidden in the mundane. And others feel seen when you look at them, not judged, not scanned, but witnessed. It's a rare feeling in this world. It makes people pause, because on some level, they're sensing your energy. And it's not ordinary anymore. It's not conditioned, it's awake. But there's another layer to this change, one that's not as gentle. When the soul begins to show itself through the eyes, it often coincides with deep internal unraveling. As the eyes brighten, the old self begins to dissolve. You might feel moments of emotional intensity without explanation. Tears come suddenly, memories resurface. You may even feel exposed, as if your mask is slipping, but you haven't fully stepped into what's next. That's because the eyes are not just revealing light, they're releasing shadow. It's not about looking more beautiful. It's about becoming more transparent. Every emotion suppressed, every truth denied, every false role played, they all come to the surface to be seen. And the eyes lead the way, so next time you catch your reflection and feel a pulse of something unfamiliar, don't turn away, look deeper, look past the story you've told yourself. There is someone ancient looking back at you, someone wise, raw, and real. Your eyes are not changing randomly, they're responding to your frequency. They are broadcasting who you are becoming. But here's the truth most people aren't ready to hear as your eyes awaken. Your old identity begins to collapse. The person you thought you were cannot survive this clarity. And that's exactly what comes next. What happens when everything you believed yourself to be starts to fall apart? Not because of failure or trauma or external chaos, but because something inside you no longer agrees with the life you've built. This is the quiet implosion of the ego, and it doesn't arrive with warnings. One day, you wake up and your name feels foreign. Your job feels pointless. Your relationships feel scripted. You begin to sense that the identity you've spent years or lifetimes constructing was never really you. It was a survival mask, and when your soul begins to awaken, that mask no longer fits. This moment is not poetic, it's disorienting. You may feel like you're losing your mind, but in truth, you're losing your illusion. This process is known in mystical traditions as ego death, a sacred collapse of the false self, and it often begins with emotional chaos waves of inexplicable sadness, rage with no clear target, a sudden emptiness that echoes through everything. These are not mood swings, they are energetic detox. Your system is clearing space for a more authentic frequency, but first, it must dismantle what was built on fear, approval, and control. And because the ego is made of stories who you think you are, what you think you need, it will fight for its life. It will whisper doubts. It will sabotage clarity. It will make you believe this pain is a step backward, when in truth, it is the gateway forward. Have you noticed how old habits start to feel repulsive? How conversations you once enjoyed now drain you? How your environment begins to feel like a costume party, and you're the only one without a mask? That's the ego unraveling. Your vibration is no longer compatible with the identity you wore to survive, and so the universe begins to strip you down gently at first, then with fire. Friendships fall away, careers dissolve, nothing feels safe anymore. But this is not punishment, it is sacred disruption. Because only through the breakdown can the soul begin to speak clearly. And what it says is simple: you were never that identity. You are something deeper, more eternal. But ego death is not just psychological, it is somatic. You may feel aches in your joints, tension in your chest, nausea without cause. These are echoes of the unraveling. The body stores identity in its tissues, in your gait, your breath, your voice. As the false self dies, the body releases its memory. This is why some days feel unbearable. You are grieving a version of yourself that once kept you safe. And grief is sacred. Do not rush through it. Do not bypass the pain with positivity. Sit with the ashes, because in that stillness, something ancient begins to stir the authentic self. Quiet at first, but steady, like a new frequency humming beneath the static. So if you feel lost, numb, or broken right now, you're not broken, you're becoming. What you're feeling is the death rattle of limitation, the final breath of the story that told you who to be. And though it feels like a void, this emptiness is not empty. It is fertile, it is sacred. It is the space where something new is ready to emerge. But what rises after ego death is not just a better version of the old you. It's a completely different state of being. And it comes with senses you never knew you had, because once the false self dissolves, you begin to feel reality in ways you never imagined. What if the sensitivity you once saw as weakness was actually a doorway? After the ego dissolves, a strange silence follows. For some, it feels empty. For others, terrifying. But for those who listen, a new kind of perception begins to emerge. You start noticing things you never could before: the tone behind someone's words, the tension in a room before anyone speaks, the energetic weight of a decision before it's made. This is not imagination. It's your system realigning to a finer frequency. What most call supernatural is simply natural once the distortion of ego is removed. You are not gaining powers. You are remembering senses that were always yours but buried. Empaths, intuitives, healers, these are not special titles. They are simply those who have walked through ego death and survived the silence. Your body becomes an antenna. Your skin, your heart, your breath each responds not just to sound or light, but to vibration. You begin to feel the emotions of others, as if they were your own, not as drama, but as data. You can walk into a space and instantly know if something feels off, even if it looks perfect on the surface. These gifts emerge not through study, but through surrender. And they are not here to entertain you. They are here to guide you, to protect you, to help you live in alignment with what is real, not what is expected. At first, this new sensitivity can feel overwhelming. Crowded places drain you. Loud noises feel invasive. Violent movies or harsh conversations leave a residue in your chest. This isn't fragility, it's discernment. Your energy field has become more selective. You are no longer able to numb out like before. And while the world may tell you to toughen up, this softness is your strength, because it allows you to perceive what others can't: the hidden dynamics, the unspoken truths, the invisible architecture of energy that we all swim through, yet rarely see. You've become a radar, a barometer, and with it comes a responsibility to trust what you feel, even when it contradicts logic. But here's the secret: this isn't just about sensitivity. It's about power. Once you begin to recognize how energy moves within you, around you, but to work with it consciously, you'll notice how your thoughts create ripples, how your focus amplifies outcomes, how intention shapes reality. This is where the real magic begins, not the kind of magic found in fantasy, but the kind encoded into the very structure of consciousness. The ancient mystics knew this, so did the quantum physicists. Your inner world is your blueprint, and now you're starting to read it. So what happens next, when you begin to live from this awakened sensitivity? Reality shifts, manifestations speed up. The world around you starts to mirror your internal vibration with startling accuracy. You think something and it arrives. You feel something and it unfolds. At first, it seems like coincidence, but soon, it becomes undeniable. Your perception is no longer passive, it's creative. You're not just reacting to reality anymore, you're sculpting it. But this acceleration comes with a price: clarity, yes, but also intensity. Because the more energy flows, the faster everything moves. And that's exactly what we'll explore next. Imagine this: a single thought crosses your mind and hours later, a message arrives, an opportunity appears, or a person calls who reflects that exact idea. At first, you brush it off. Coincidence, maybe. But then it happens again and again, until the pattern becomes impossible to ignore. Welcome to the next phase of awakening: energy acceleration. When your vibration rises, your timeline shifts. What once took years to manifest now unfolds in days, even hours. This isn't magic, it's mechanics. Consciousness is energy. And as your frequency sharpens, the universe responds in kind. You're no longer operating on delay, you're broadcasting in real time. But here's the part most people don't see coming: speed amplifies everything. Not just clarity, but chaos. Not just blessings, but breakdowns. When your energy speeds up, it's like shifting from a freight train to a bullet train. You move faster, but you feel every bump on the track. Your lessons arrive harder. Your emotional triggers surface quicker. Your manifestations, both wanted and unwanted, appear with startling immediacy. That's why alignment becomes essential. Because in this new frequency, there's no more buffer between thought and outcome. If your inner world is distorted, your outer world becomes a mirror of that distortion fast. You may notice relationships intensifying or dissolving overnight, jobs ending without warning, projects you've worked on for months suddenly collapsing or succeeding out of nowhere. This isn't instability, it's energetic refinement. Anything misaligned with your new frequency is ejected with force, and it can be brutal. But here's the paradox: the faster life moves, the more still you must become. You begin to realize that peace is not found in control but in coherence. The more internally clear you are, the smoother your external manifestations become. You are no longer creating from ego, you're creating from essence. And essence doesn't need to force. It simply vibrates and the universe responds. So how do you stabilize this acceleration? The key is awareness. Every thought, emotion, and belief you carry is a frequency. And that frequency acts like a magnet. Begin observing what you're broadcasting. Are your thoughts aligned with what you desire, or with what you fear? Are you speaking from clarity, or from an old wound? In this state of high vibration, there is no hiding. Your field becomes transparent. And that can feel vulnerable until you realize it's also your greatest power. Because when you're aware of your frequency, you can shift it at will. And when you shift it, reality shifts with you. The speed at which your life is unfolding right now is not random, it's a reflection of how close you are to your true self. This is not the time to slow down, it's the time to tune in. Because from this point forward, your thoughts become tools, your feelings become signals, and your life becomes a mirror that updates instantly. But there's one more layer to this awakening. One that doesn't just affect what you manifest, but how you see everything. Because as your energy accelerates, your perception begins to transform. You start to see the world not as it appears, but as it truly is. There comes a moment in every true awakening when the fog lifts and suddenly you see. Not metaphorically, literally, the world appears sharper, brighter, more alive. But it's not your vision that's changed, it's your perception. You're no longer viewing reality through the filters of trauma, belief, or borrowed identity. You're seeing what is, without distortion, and it's overwhelming. The beauty, the pain, the hidden structures. You begin to recognize patterns in people, in systems, in yourself, patterns that were invisible before. This is spiritual clarity, and once it arrives, nothing can remain the same. You see the masks people wear not to judge them, but to understand them. You feel the weight of words before they are spoken. You hear the truth behind silence. But more than anything, you begin to see the invisible architecture behind life itself, the energy behind form, the intention behind events. Synchronicities stop feeling random. You start realizing that what you once called coincidence was always communication. Your soul is decoding the code of reality. And the most powerful shift, you stop reacting. You begin responding with awareness, with presence, with power. This clarity can be disorienting. You may feel alien in your own world. Conversations become harder to tolerate if they lack depth. Media feels hollow. The pace of the world feels artificial. But this discomfort is temporary. Because what follows is the rise of discernment. You begin to navigate life not by rules or fear, but by resonance. You trust your inner yes and your inner no. You sense what's real, even when it's invisible. And slowly, you stop being manipulated by appearances. You no longer fall for the illusion of separation, lack, or unworthiness. You remember that everything is energy and energy never lies. As this perception strengthens, your life begins to reshape itself around truth. Relationships deepen or dissolve. Your purpose becomes clearer. You start moving not to escape, but to express. You no longer chase success, you align with frequency. This is where intuition becomes your compass, not just for decisions, but for creation. You begin to co-create your experience with the universe itself. And the clarity isn't loud, it's quiet. It's the still knowing that sits beneath the noise. The kind that doesn't need proof, because it is the proof. It doesn't shout, it whispers, but its whispers rewrite everything. And this, perhaps, is the greatest revelation of all. Clarity is not a gift. It's a natural state that returns when interference ends. You were never meant to live in confusion. Confusion was the symptom of disconnection. Now you remember, now you see. And what you see sees you back. So if your world has been shaking, dissolving, or speeding up, it's because the illusion is losing its grip. And what's left behind is real, not perfect, not painless, but true. And from this truth, a new life begins, not as a concept, as a lived frequency. But before you step fully into this clarity, take a moment. Ask yourself, what are you truly ready to see? If you've made it this far, something within you is already changing. Not tomorrow, not someday. Now, maybe your breath feels slower. Maybe your thoughts feel quieter. Maybe, for the first time in a long time, you feel like you're not alone. That's not coincidence. That's resonance. Because everything you've heard in this video wasn't just information, it was reflection, a mirror of what your soul already knows. And if it stirred something in you, trust that. You're not imagining the shift, you're in it. And you don't have to go through it in silence. Spiritual awakening isn't a path of perfection. It's a spiral of remembering. Some days are clear, others chaotic. Sometimes you feel infinite, and other times completely undone. That's part of the process. That is the process. And in this space, you're seen, you're heard, you're understood. This channel isn't just content, it's a sanctuary for those awakening, for those feeling the friction of transformation, for those walking between the old world and a new perception of reality. If that's you, know this: you're not here by mistake. You're being guided, and this is just the beginning. Have you experienced any of the signs we shared today? Body changes, emotional intensities, or moments of sudden clarity? Let us know in the comments. Your voice matters. Your story might be the exact sign someone else is waiting for. And in a world designed to disconnect us, sharing truth becomes a revolutionary act. This community is built on that act: one comment, one resonance, one awakening at a time. Speak from the heart. You'll be surprised who it reaches. If you felt seen by this video, if it gave you clarity, comfort, or even just one moment of stillness, consider subscribing and turning on notifications. Each new episode is crafted with intention, built to meet you where you are and guide you a little further on your path. We explore more than ideas here. We explore frequency. And when you return, you don't just learn, you remember. So stay close, because the next insight might be the one that opens a door you didn't know was there. Before you go, take a moment, close your eyes, breathe, feel into your body. There's wisdom there, guidance, truth. Let this not be just another video you watched. Let it be a moment you felt, a turning point, a quiet initiation into the next layer of your becoming. And as you continue your journey, remember, you are not broken. You are breaking open. You are not behind. You are right on time, and you are never, ever alone.